Hey everyone, it's Yue from SBTCG, and I just want to do. I know I don't make videos on this channel that much anymore. Honestly, this is like a very rare occurrence. I'm just doing the deck profile for the deck that I got second place with my team, Broderick and Clinton, at the Houston Spring Fest for Weiss Schwarz. Just to put it out there, I got a couple questions, and I hate answering questions on social media because it's like awkward and everything, and I'd rather just put the video out and so I can link it instead. It's the Hololive deck I played because people saw it. First of all, people just want to see the cards because it's really shiny, and second of all, I got questions on some of the ratios because if you look at the list, it's really like it just needs some explanation probably because the list is kind of looks really troll. It's your kind of like your, everyone knows already, it's set 1 only and set 2's out in Japanese, but it's the set 1 Hololive deck with the memory and everything. But with some changes that suit what I thought the deck needed to do going into this tournament. I've been playing this deck like pretty religiously for over a year. Like I topped with it last year at the same Houston Spring Fest with a different team. Yeah, like this is the only deck I play in English, because I think it's the only deck that I think is actually good for tournaments. Yeah, I actually don't play that much Weiss Schwarz anymore, but for teams, hang out with the boys. It's always fun. Shout out to my team, obviously, to Clinton and Broderick. It's the first time we ever teamed together. We've been talking about teaming together for years, ever since I met them like 7 years ago, back when I first started Strictly. Shout out to Strictly, obviously, and the boys down in Houston. And if you know, you know. But yeah, shout out to all of them, Brian and everyone. Appreciate the support and sponsoring me. And shout out to Kevin, Strictly Bro, who got first place. We lost to them in the finals. Smoge. But yeah, good to see Strictly, always doing well in the Weiss Schwarz events. Goes to show just player diff, But yeah, let's get into the profile. Starting off, I have 3 of... sorry for the glare. There's nothing really I can do. My setup is scuffed now because I don't have the store in BC anymore with the stream setup. But 3 of the yellow aqua and 2 of the blue aqua. So this is the first question that people ask me quite a bit about the weird ratio. And it's just quite simple, actually. I just wanted a 5th aqua for like no specific reason. Like I didn't like run anything in a calculator or anything. I just wanted 5 aquas. And then so the only question for me was what were the ratios, right? Because you have like 4-1 or 3-2 or 3-2 of the other way around colors. And the reason it's 3 yellow, 2 blue is because the yellow is the better one, because the color you want to level is obviously yellow. But sometimes you want to level blue, because I play the IMA 3-2 for the early play condition. But the one you want to level more often is a yellow one, right? Because if you're stuck at 1-0, the color you would want is yellow. So you want to play more of this, but you want to have access to some blue ones because it's really important for you to set up Ayame and send some matchups. And you don't want to clog on the blue one though, because again, if you have your preference for leveling colors, by the way, is you want to level 0s for your level, ideally, like in a dream world, because it makes your second deck Watame stock charges, not Watame, what's her name, Mel. Your Mel stock charges better if you continuously level 0s, just marginally. So if you have like options to pick what to level, you want to pick the level 0 ones. So you want to see your yellow be a 0, but sometimes you want to have a blue for level, and so that's why this weird ratio is the way it is. 4-1 just didn't cut it for me because there was legitimately times where I had the choice to level an aqua, and I wanted the blue one for leveling blue. So the ratio ended up being 3-2. Like none of this is like math based; it's mostly feel based, but it does go through a lot of you do go through a lot of testing to get to these like conclusions for yourself. But regardless of these conclusions, the important part to look at is that there's 5 aquas. I wanted 5. I wanted to draw these more than just playing 4 because I thought this card was the best opener. Everyone knows that. But once you start getting to 6 territory, 7 territory, when you open like multiples of them, it's like really bad because they attack for 500 in the side lane, right? And so people know that. They play around it by putting their character in the side lane. So you want cards that are bigger in the side lane, like the 1 copy of the Drop Searcher, which was, you know, it was the 6th Aqua originally. When this card came out, I had 6, 4 and 2, but what I ended up just realizing was, yeah, you want a 3/5 body because you want something that can hit in the side lane to kill cards, and just one of it is fine. You don't need multiple because this card's not actually that good. It's good enough because if you don't open Aqua and you have this 3/5 body, it's still like a 0 that you open going first, and you're like, okay, that's poggers. But the moment you see multiples, like, you don't actually want to drop search a lot. You don't want to drop salvage a lot either, because paying stock to not go plus is awkward and smooge. So yeah, that's like the 6 plusing zeros that you can draw going first. I also have 2 of the drop salvage. This card's actually good because of the first effect, mill 3. You don't drop salvage that often, but the fact that it can mill 3 at level 0, because this deck has a deck speed problem, is very important, especially for set 1. You can also just, sometimes the times you do drop salvage, a lot of the times it's drop salvage for the second copy of it, so you can just mill 6. I feel like you have to play 2 because you do kind of want to see this card in the first deck, ideally. And so yeah, it's 2 of this card. And then for the memory package, this is the other question some people ask me. It's like, why is it like 2/2/2? Like, because this card is obviously pretty good as an opener, so why do you only play like 2 of it? And the reason is I have 6 openers already, like I talked about, and so I don't want to like clog my handful of opener cards, because it's like, it's great going second, right? If you have a bunch of opener cards and you have a really good tri-field going second, which this deck is really good at tri-fielding, but I don't want to like draw multiples of this card and like go like, oh my god, I could have had better cards, because this card is actually not very good. It conflicts with what you want to play going first if you draw this and Aqua, because this card is the better card to play going first, like on the first turn, but Aqua is the better card, so that conflicts also. And also the other thing is, like, this card is just really bad after turn 1, because if you have to use this card to get the memory, it has to keep itself on the board, and then if it's on the board, and for you to not minus with the effect, you have to attack with it, so you have to attack with this 2/5 body that might not scale over a character. And there's a lot of problems with this card, so that I ended up deciding just to cut it to 2, just to trim it to as low as possible, while still having access to copies of the card, because you do need 3 different memory names, right? So 2 I thought was fine. It was good all tournament, the 2, never missed it, never wanted more. Yeah, the actual better card is definitely this. Like, this one you could actually put probably 3, but what's awkward about it? It can get popped because it's 500 power, and you know, if you do not draw +0, you still kind of want to draw this card. So that's why the ratio is not like 3-1, it's 2-2, because if you don't end up drawing Aquas, this card still kind of comes up. But if you draw Aquas and you're tri-fielding going second, this as like the 3rd attacker is great because it's a free memory, and free memory is, you know, actually good memory. Like, cost of memory is sus, because it's like not, I call it seamless memory because it's like, it's not intrusive to anything you want to do. It just goes into memory for free, and it's really powerful because if you set up conditions like the early play condition with free memory, or memory that you use for like a seamless game plan, it's very, very strong, because you're just playing the same thing other decks do but with free memory, so it's really strong. So this card could be 3, 2 is fine. This card's also really good for late game. Like, that's why you have to like play multiples, because once you put 1 to memory, you want to have access to the second one, because check 9 off Marine sometimes lifts the door. That's just the reality of it, and you don't want to complain about getting sacked. So you play 1 copy of this, because when you dig 9, sometimes you can like find the 1 copy in the 9 cards, and then you can play 1 more card to hopefully try to find the Marine door. And that actually happened multiple times in the tournament. Twice I whiffed door off of 9 checks, and this card got me the last 3 checks for the door. And then finally 2 copies of this card. This card's actually one of the better memory cards, just because it's proactive. It's like usable in the main phase. Proactive might not be the right word. If you have 2 memory going into level 2, this card can get you there for the 3rd in the main phase, and then you can start EPing. It's also mill. Again, mill problem for this deck, so you know you have 2 more cards that can mill you 3. And while mills while not clogging the board. So I think this card is actually pretty solid. You don't want to play multiples, like you don't want to play 3 or 4, because you just want to see 1. And you know, the deck has really good access to searches and salvages, so these cards are always accessible pretty easily in the mid game. So yeah, that's these, and then 3 brainstorms and 1 of the search brainstorm. This card's obviously broken because the power pump is crazy good. Just gets you so, like, it's not even just the power pump that's broken. It's the fact that it's an act effect for free, right? Mel is one of the important cards in this deck because it gets you free stock, and when you get free stock, your memory becomes less of a burden, right, for your stock thresholds. And so being able to trigger a free act is really nice, but the 15 is also really good just to attack over everything. Attack over, Mushoku cards, attack over, what's the deck? Quince cards, You have no power lines that you cannot hit because this card exists, even for your EPs, like your level 3s and your combos and everything, so this card's super relevant. The one search brainstorm is just to make the specific play of leveling IMA into swap blue in with your Gen 2 cards. Which is relevant because sometimes you want red at 1, and so you level the red, and then you can put the blue in, so you can have the condition to early play the IMA. But it only works when IMA is a specific card in your level because it's the only Gen 2 red. But that's good. It's also just it's also mill 5 brainstorm, which is, I don't want to say it's like really good, but one card mill is nice sometimes. Definitely, I think the ratio for your brainstorm should be 3-1. There's no point playing like 4 of this card because you don't really miss seeing the 4th one of this card. But having access to a flexible brainstorm like this is definitely better. Was it relevant for like game changing? No, but like I wouldn't change the ratio of 3-1 regardless. So that's it for zeros. Level 1s, it's 4 copies of the combo, which is it blurs out. My apologies. 4 copies of the combo, which is the worst card in the deck. I don't like it at all. If I could cut it to 3, I would, but unfortunately, I kind of can't because it attacks really big. But this deck doesn't really need the combo to win its games. A lot of people like kind of force out combos at 1 for this deck, which is like the wrong way to play it. A lot of times when you open with the combo, you mulligan it away, unless your hand is like very specifically really OP. But yeah, most of the time you mulligan the combo away because it's actually much better to summon the combo off the Polka, because it gets you seamless memory again, because Polka summoning combo is a plus into combo plus, so it's like what a deck wants to do anyways, and you really want a combo and bin to do that, because what the bread and butter level 1 play is actually Polka and a combo and then play a combo. So that combo is big and it'll attack over something, and then this combo will assign to that one in like a smaller lane, and then this will go to your memory. You'll get 2 searches, and then your memory is set up for your early play. Like that's the way you want to play the level 1 game. And that requires you to mulligan the combo. So I guess playing 4 is mandatory because you want to see it in your opener so you can mulligan it away. Other than that, yeah, like Polka is just another example of a crazy memory card. I think this kind of profile, the pay 1, summon something, go to memory, is like the most broken effect in the game. If your deck can like play it easily, I think you should always play these kind of cards. It makes 1k1 decks just so strong because 1 card equals 2 cards theory. Like I was telling some of my friends this, I feel like I ended up realizing that the worst decks in this game don't have cards that can generate cards off themselves. It doesn't even have to be a plus value. Another card I think is really powerful are the ditch salvage, people call it Rico profiles, because they just make cards that you can use as attackers off their one body. That's so valuable because it allows you to hold bad cards that are good for only specific situations. But being able to have the ability to hold these bad cards is the strength of like cards like this, because you're now better than other decks. Now you have cards that can attack different situations, because you can't predict what happens in Weiss Schwarz battle phases and on your opponent's turn, just because of how canceling and all that stuff works. You can't predict scenarios, so it's better to have different scenarios prepped in your hand. And cards like this allow you to do that. It's like kind of conceptual at how they allow you to do that, but that's what they basically do. That's why they're strong. It's not that they plus. It's not that they hand filter. Like people say Rico hand filters, this pluses. That's not what it is. It's really the fact that you can greedily hold cards that are good for different situations because these cards allow you to do that. So that's why they're good. And 2 copies of Mel. I used to think this card's broken, but this card's actually not very good. And 2 of is actually the correct number, I feel like, because it's only good for like if you level red, go to 1-0, and you don't have combos, so you can go Polka spam this, add a plus, and then get a stock back, because it's like a pivot turn that feels kind of like cheap and free. Like you didn't deserve to get a pivot turn like that, but you do. And it's really only good for that situation, and then like poke attacking at mid game, so that you can maybe like generate a free stock. Because otherwise you just want to go like the play I said where you go Polka combo and then some activate combo. So you don't want to clog on these cards because these cards actually don't get. They actually are kind of like annoying sometimes in hand. The other scenario where it's actually good is if you have an open slot in the back and go like Polka combo, play a Mel, summon a combo with the Brainstorm, tap Brainstorm. So you can have that full board, but Polka has this in the back now, which is actually fine, but that is another situation where it's okay to have, but anything other than that is kind of cloggy, so I think 2 is fine. And then the other level ones I play is 1 copy of this card, 1 copy of this card, and 1 copy of this card. This card is, anti-change bomb. It's just good in general against like Quints and everything as removal. This card is really good. It top checks for your Watame. It's also 1500 pump, which is in a pinch. It's really good because it makes like some really good numbers like 7k, 8k with climax. Pump 9.5, Brainstorm 11k. That's like a really big number. 11k attacked over EPs. So this card is relevant for the pump. Yeah, I wouldn't cut this card. Like a 1 of this card is perfectly fine. It doesn't hand filter in the way like you want, but because it doesn't dish climaxes to salvage, but it is still like Rico. And like I said with Polka Rico effects, it doesn't even need a dish climax because again, it's not about hand fixing climaxes off. It's about 1 card that you can grab off a door and feel really comfortable with it because it turns your worst cards like EPs that you might have held into good cards if the situation doesn't present itself to play those cards. So this card still does that purpose really good. And then this card is so broken. People who don't play it I think just don't know the lines. This card is really good because again, when you're in the mid game and you trigger like a random door, you hit a random Brainstorm, you need to get a random card. One of the best cards to grab and hold because in the late game, this card will equal your 3rd Marine a lot of the time. And it basically makes it so that you play 5 Marines, which is actually just factual because it is a Marine. Because you can go like play this card, play Marine, sack it, resolve Marine effect, check 3. You find the choice, and then after the check 3 happens with the choice, you can activate this effect to ditch the Marine climax to salvage a Marine engrave. And so this card allows you to not only greedily not have Marines in hand at level 3, it also lets you stock Marines off triggering choice if you have this in hand. Very, very powerful. I would not cut it. 1 of is perfect for it. I think any memory-based Marine choice door deck should play this card, but a lot of them don't, so it's kind of smudge. Next on to the level 3s, which is really toolboxy. I don't know where to put these cards. I'll put it here for now, I guess. 1 copy of the stock swap goes without saying. You need 1 for when you're getting cheesed. 1 Ayame. Obviously, I thought this card was trash for like the entirety of 2022, and then it was playtesting with Quince. Shout out to BC Local. Shout out to Jeremy playtesting Quince with me. Shout outs to Ethan, David, all the BC Locals. But yeah, I was playtesting against Quince, and I realized that Quince has a line that they play where they hit 3 and they just go for the combo because they're really strong defensively with like 2K supports, the whole Quince board, and then a global 15 if they play it. And what ends up happening is like you cannot actually contest that board, especially if they have counters. But they go for their wombo combo and they end on with low stock. Let's say they end on a 1 or 2 stock, preferably 1 or 0 stock, and that's like a really hard board to challenge because you can't kill their cards. They're representing counters. But what you can do is drop this card, level down their finishers, and if they actually only have 1 or 0 stock, now you just rely on your compression to survive the next turn if you're not ready to kill yet. And they actually cannot pressure you in any meaningful way, right? Like all they can actually do is 3-3-3 because you use this card to clear 2 of their finishers, which like this exact line actually happened in semifinals of the tournament, and this card single-handedly won me the game. I was actually playing from behind all game, but it gave me a free time walk turn, like a free turn skip because of the effect. I like leveled down the finishers that I couldn't challenge, and then just crash, and he had to go 3-3-3, which that's the only play he has. I was able to cancel the swings because 3-3-3 is not really relevant finishing strength, and then I went for the kill because he was at high damage. So that is really, this card's really powerful. You can also do that same kind of line at 2. What happens with Quince is like if they stand by, they're a 3-2 Ninos to the back in the mid game, if you level them down, they now don't have them for their finish turn, because that's what they rely on sometimes to play, is to have those Ninos survive. So this card is actually super, super busted. I was wrong of me to not play it for like a whole year in 2022. One copy of Watame, also very, very busted card. Honestly, less good than people think. I used to have 2 of them in the slot of the IMA, but Watame is still obviously really good. Really good against Rusia. If you play against that, like your plan against Rusia is to have this plus Watame, and it's just GG, they lose. But Watame is really good against Quince as well, because a lot of times they're like farming you with the 1/1 and the 2/2 that they have on the field, and the moment you hit 2, you drop a Watame, which levels bottom decks the 2/2, which honestly gives you a free damage a lot of the time, because that's when they're usually at the mid to late of their deck, is when you hit 2 in the beginning. And then you just run over the 1/1 with this, you bottom deck the 2/2, so you get a free damage, clean damage at the bottom, and now you answer the board with 1 card. So obviously still really good, but I think 1 is perfectly fine, because again, the toolbox in this deck is very solid. 1 copy of Suisse. I think you only need 1. The card is not great, because heal, like the early plays that like heal to stock are like really bad, because they like reduce your hand size, and it makes like you want to play with really big hand in the toolbox kind of deck, right? Because you want as many options as possible, like I said, with like Polkas and this card reduces your options, so not great. But what it is really good for is you want to always go to level 3 with 4 stock minimum, because that's triple marine. This card lets you do healing plays while still maintaining that like 4 stock dream world. So if you have, for example, only 3 stock and you want to brainstorm and play this, or you want to play the Adachi and play this, the anti-change bomb, you have basically a card that you can grab that gives you those options of still having 1 stock before you go into attacks, so that you make 4 stocks, so that you can triple marine. So I think 1 of it is fine. The better EP, I think, is Polka, which I do play for. Let me move these down. Polka, which I do play for. Polka is super, super good. It's the payoff for the memory, which people say it's like not super, super good. Like, I'll tell you why it's super, super good. It's because, like, if you're gonna play the choice level 1 combo anyways, first of all, like, I really want cards that are great for putting into stock with choice. This is great. It's like your main target you put in, and that's why you want to maximize on it, right? Because it's also your primary EP, but it's also the card that you want to choice away. So you play 4. So that's why the ratio is 4. But it's really, really good, because I hate early plays that get turned off when their condition's not met, because again, like, you just want cards that you can make sure you can play. You don't want cards that can be turned off, because then they get really, really bad really, really quick, right? Like 2 or less condition sucks, because if you get unlucky, like you refresh a climax and you double cancel, it's already GG. Your game plan is fucked. Your hand sucks now. So this card, if you can meet your memory condition, is busted, and you will know if you can meet your memory condition, because to be able to meet your memory condition, it's actually just completely solved if you were going to be able to, because you can like map out with your opening hand to see, is this a game I can play for 3 memory or is it not? Because this is a given. You will always have a memory from this. If your hand is most likely going to be resolving a Polka, that's your second one. And if you're going to be doing these in the first 2 turns, that's your 3, right? So if your hand is one of these cards, this is a non-argument, and then 1 Polka. Basically, if you just do one of these and one of this, you'll have 3 memory. But some games you actually won't, because they answer this with like a clock shooting bomb or a bomb deck bomb. You won't have the 3 memory, and you don't have to sculpt this hard for Polka. But it's like, just trust me, you will know if you can do Polka, so it's always live. And then if you sack cancel a bunch, you'll also be able to do Polka, because like if you weren't planning to do Polkas, but if you sack cancel a lot, then you have like a lot of turns to try to set it up. So yeah, but in theory, it's always just like going first or second. First 2 turns, you resolve one of these. Level 1 game, you resolve one of these. You resolve one of these whenever, and then you have access to Polka. It's literally just that simple. So yeah, it's live when you need it to be always. I don't want an early play that is dead sometimes. It's so frustrating. I hate those. And the problem with 4 or more condition ones like the Suisse is like, sometimes I actually just want to double heal. And these clog when you have multiples. But these don't clock because you can just keep playing them. So it's really, really good. I really like it. And I think it's a worthwhile payoff, and why I think the memory deck is the best one is because it has the most live early play out of all the Hololive decks. I guess Kanta is a very live early play too, but it is early play package that you have to hold a lot of specific cards for, which then goes against my dream deck play style of being able to toolbox and have a lot of variety, which goes without saying. Like, you can tell there's a bunch of 1-ofs, 2-ofs in the deck. I just want to have as many different cards that are good for different scenarios as possible because the deck allows me to be able to do that. Finally, the 4 Marines. This is just, I don't need to explain. Good card, great card, whatever. Marines. Yeah, and then climaxes, boom, boom. That's basically it. I don't need to talk about that much. So yeah, hopefully that answers most of the questions. Again, shout outs to my teammates, Clinton and Broderick. It was really, really fun. Probably will not see them for a while, unless, probably not for a while. But yeah, it was really fun, guys. If you guys have any more questions, please don't message me on Facebook. You can write a comment on the YouTube. Maybe I'll answer it there. But yeah, you should try this out before Set 2 comes out. Set 2, this deck starts sucking because there are better decks to play in Hololive. Also, this deck sucks against Sao, so after Houston, unplayable. Don't play this deck anymore. Poggers. Peace.